and they're like, stop me in the street, and they're like, oh, you're friends with blah blah blah, and I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
I'm a person too!
It's
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. We're joined here today by Neil and Brad Hobbs. Neil actually works with Julian. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm web development and help out with the marketing. Did my own thing for about 10 years, web development wise, and decided to join forces with Julian. And yeah, we're going from strength to strength.
Yeah. Brad, do you want to introduce yourself just a little bit?
to this camera.
Yeah.
I'm Brad, photographer from London, writer, ex-writer. I don't know.
Anything that just a little
Anything
bit.
creative, you know. I've been around the field a little bit, so yeah, just join these guys for a chat today.
Awesome.
And
we're really glad to have you as well.
Yeah, nice to be here.
So,
done any web development?
Never. That stuff's way over my head.
Yeah.
I think dyslexia, that's the part that I've probably like completely missed.
Yeah.
fair enough.
For sure.
Do you have a website, do you?
No.
No. Have you thought about getting a website, or why
I
do you
have,
not have one?
and I've looked, and I've like, this is another thing with like Instagram is like, everyone's always like, what's your website? And I just send them that because it's like an online portfolio. If you want to see something that I've written, I can send you like a thing to like my Huffington Post page, or like, you know, I just send them the Instagram page. And I've never thought like, I have thought, why should I spend so much money on having a web designed, or like spending money on like a domain name when I have a completely free platform with X amount of followers.
Yeah.
That like people are going to look at the stuff that I put out anyway. So I never really thought about it, and I guess that I've probably missed out on a few boats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's part of the thing
from
that Stuart talks about in his course.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah, a
importance
little
of
bit.
having a website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
because
it's not that expensive. It's not as expensive as you think.
Yeah.
I think there can be a bit of a stigma around this kind of stuff where you know, websites are really expensive. It's going to cost me thousands of pounds,
Yeah.
and there's extra management. Where's the domain? Blah blah blah. But I mean, literally, it's like £10 for a domain. You can get hosting for probably around about the same.
Yeah.
Use tools like WordPress.
Yeah.
Completely free. Loads of free themes.
Yeah. I think my issue is like when I should have had a website, I didn't have the money to spare to set one up, and I was spending all my time being outside, photographing things and putting myself out there. I didn't have the time to sit and think of what I want, how I want it to look, what it should say on it. And then it got to a point where I was so like backed up with work after a while that I didn't have the time to sit and do that same thing. And I may have had the money to spare on it at that point, but then I didn't have the time again. So, and then it's like paying someone else to do it for me, and I'm like, do I really need that? And that's the thought that I went through was like, I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and I have these platforms, and they're both instant like tools to like show writing or show photographs. So I was like, I'll just send them those. Like it's the easiest way. And still to this day, I just send them Instagram or like my writing pages.
Yeah, and I think that's people get themselves into the system, and then they kind of think, oh, I've got to add something else to that process. So not only do I have to add the images to Instagram and Twitter and all these other places, but now I have to add it to a website as well. And they're just like, they're looking for the benefits.
Yeah. I think a website for me would do good, but it's just because I take so many photographs, it would take so long for me to like sit and think which ones to put on there, like what type of text I should pull for that imagery, or just leave it blank. and then it gets into this whole process.
But I think that's one of the good things about having a website, though, right? Is that you can choose the absolute best. I mean, if it's Instagram, you're continually putting stuff out there. It might not always be your best work, but you're continually just posting just to get that engagement, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got the website, it's more of like a proper CV. It's like, this is my best stuff, and it's just laid right out there so people can see it straight away.
I've seen like friends of mine, photographers that have websites, and I'm like, God, it looks so good.
Yeah.
And I do honestly, like, I would love one, but it's just like maybe now is the time that I've got free time.
Yeah.
And I've got money that I can spare to do that sort of thing. Maybe now is the time to do it. And that might give me something like creative to do and make people take me a bit more seriously. I don't know.
Definitely. Well, I mean, it would help for credibility.
Sale.
Yeah. Done.
It definitely helps you make more discoverable as well with the website. Because people might search for photography and your website might come up, and then there they go to your Instagram.
Yeah.
So you might get people that don't use Instagram, but they're still really interested in your work.
Yeah. I think like my name, if you Google it, like it comes up with like Huffington Post, Instagram, Twitter, comes up with those three. And I'm sure if people would search photographer or photography or something like that, that then puts me in a whole nother bracket.
Yeah.
People could find me through Google search or something like that they, if they were looking for a specific type of photographer or someone that shot photos with a certain person, you know, that would benefit me.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never thought of it in that way before, so yeah, maybe now is the time for sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
We'll hook you up.
So a little bit that I was going to ask is that I was looking through like your actual profile, and you have like loads of different like photos basically. So you're not, there's like some people that stick to like a specific style. So some, like a lot of photographers I follow, they stick to like portrait photography, for instance. Is there like a route you want to go down, or are you happy just taking like anything and everything?
I'm still the same, like inside, like I'm still the same person. When I was 12, when I picked up a camera, my mind is still very much like, if my brain thinks that looks good, that's what I'm going to photograph. Yeah. Like, I don't have like this thing in my mind that I'm strict portraits, or I'm strict like cityscapes or like anything like that. I don't sit there and like, that's not in my mind at all. I'll just walk around with a camera, and like if I'm on a job or something like that, I'll take photos how I see fit for the client, you know?
Right.
And I've never really had an issue where someone's like, that's not what we're asking for.
Yeah. Or
like no one's ever said like, we want portraits. Like if they are asking for portraits, obviously I can do portraits.
Yeah.
But I'm like not a strict style. Like I don't like go out there and like I do go out in the day and I'm like, right, okay, today I'm gonna photograph like someone in the street and like stop them, talk to them, get their story, and like learn a little bit about who they are, where they're from, things like that. But I think most photographers do that nowadays, you know. They like to set themselves a challenge for the day and they get on with it, you know. But yeah, I don't think I like have a full strict sort of style on anything whatsoever.
Did you find that difficult, setting yourself a challenge every day? Or does it just kind of come to you, you're like, I'm just going to go out and maybe do this? Or
yeah.
Because it's like a motivational thing almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've gone through phases where I just haven't picked up a camera in months.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm just like...
Just not in the mood.
I have no motivation to pick it up.
Yeah.
I have no motivation to go outside, and like it's always to do with the surroundings. Like if I've been in a place for too long, I'm just a bit like, I know exactly what I'm going to find today.
Right.
I know exactly what I'm going to see, and there's like no motivation or like excitement to go and see that. So I'm just like that's been an issue before.
Is that where
like,
you set yourself different tasks? So like I do a little bit of photography, but nothing on your kind of level. But so when I've been there as well, where you just like, I'm not going to take the camera on my dog walk or whatever because I know what I'm going to see. But then sometimes I'll think, well, actually, I'll try a different kind of photography. Like I'll do macro shots today, so I'll just go and try and find something close up. Yeah,
I mean, it still goes like if I'm out, like I don't have like a full specific thing that I'm going to go and photograph. So like sometimes I've always got my phone on me, which is like such a good camera nowadays. So if I'm not carrying equipment or like carrying one camera with one lens, I've always got my phone in my pocket. And if I see something, I'm gonna like photograph it with the phone, and then remember it to come back with a camera to photograph that location. So, you know, like you never leave your house without a phone.
What phone have you got?
It's an iPhone 8, I think.
And what camera are you using?
Lots. I've accumulated a lot over the years. My first one was a Canon 350, which is a DSLR. I don't know what happened to that. I think I must have sold it. I got it when I was like 12. I must have sold it probably for like some skateboard wheels or something like that. You know, I have no idea what happened to that camera. I wish I still had it, but and then I went on to like the phase of like only having a phone. Like when Instagram like first popped out, I would be like, oh, this is great. I didn't have a camera, so I was like, I'm just going to use my phone. And like you can scroll back through to the bottom of my Instagram page, and like everything is taken on a phone. Like the first images on there are all from a phone. So sometimes I go right down to the bottom, I scroll all the way down just to see how I've developed.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I was photographing like cockroaches on the floor in New York, like dead on the floor, like random things like that throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then sort of slowly started getting like more like editorial, kind of like really thinking about the shot and like using my phone still. And then a friend of mine let me borrow his Fuji X10, and I was obsessed with it. Like instantly, it was just a little compact camera, one lens, like you couldn't take it off or anything. And I just got like absolutely obsessed with this little camera, and I just took it with me everywhere. And because it was so compact, you could just keep it around your neck, and you could shoot pictures with it.
If somebody wanted to start off being a social influencer, and the photography side of things is where they want to go, you have an advice on what kind of camera they should start with, or is it just like pick up your phone and start doing it?
Phone, I would say, like, I mean, Apple are just absolutely killing it with the like resolution on the cameras. Like the new phone that's just been released, or is it released
XS?
yet? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
So that one, like one of my friends from Baltimore, he took photos like during the riots and everything in Baltimore, and he had a front cover of Time magazine, and he was using his phone, and he was using a camera as well. So he was like between the two.
Oh, okay.
And he's just got the new XS, and he took a picture of a car, I think it was a BMW, and put it on Instagram, and I was just like, I need this phone. Like the resolution, like I know it's Instagram and it like takes like a certain like quality away from it, but you could tell that had come from something very big in the processing department. Like even though he's edited it slightly, it was like you just knew that was like next level. And when it read the bio, like the description on the picture, and it was like shot on iPhone XS, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I think this was yesterday or the day before.
Right.
And I just looked at the picture for like 10 minutes. I was like coming from like, I had like the iPhone 3GS. I think when I first went to New York, I had like the iPhone 4 or the 5. And I was taking pictures of that. Yeah. And looking at like those old pictures and being like, oh, those look terrible now. Like the quality looks awful.
Yeah, it is really improved a lot.
It's gone so quickly. So going back, like, if you've got money to spend on a camera system, I would just update your phone. Like, I know the iPhones are really expensive. I don't know the price points.
Yeah, that was like over $1,000, I think.
They're pushing it.
Yeah,
they're pushing it for a phone. But if you're going to use it,
you can get a really good DSLR for that.
Yeah, if you're going to use your phone as a camera, spend the money on it, you know. I think it's Huawei, is it, or Huawei?
Oh yeah.
They do the Leica camera system on the phone.
Right.
They're meant to be really good as well, but I've not used one. But I did use the LG G4 back when I was in New York, they sent me a free phone to use, and I was like, this is insane. Like the camera on that was crazy. I can't remember what megapixel it was, but it was like instantly, as soon as I turned it on and had the camera in my hand, I was like, well, this is like full HD.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously gone way uphill from there, you know, like they're developing like every day. So, but I've done some work with Apple on like photo stuff, like billboards and things like that, and like the shot on iPhone, like.
Oh yeah, I've seen the ads that are like that. Shot on the iPhone.
Last season, like for this phone that I've got in my pocket, they gave me that for like shooting some stuff and doing like some talks at some of their Apple stores and things like that.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, they gave me that as like an incentive to say thank you. Like, here's a new phone for you, and I was like, well, now I've got 2 iPhones. Like, what do I do? So I gave the other one to my dad, like the old one, and kept the new one. And yeah, it's just like just pushing it. Like, I keep going off topic really, but like,
yeah, I didn't think that question was going to lead into like a big advert for iPhone. We'll cut that out.
Tim Cook will be watching for sure.
Going back to like when you did it as a hobby, how did you make that jump from doing like hobby photography to actually like getting paid and working with people to take a shot?
I'm trying to remember, like, it was so many years ago. Like the first real paid job that I did, it must have been here in Scotland. It was one of the first ones.
Right.
So that was with the tourism group Love Great Britain.
Right. Okay.
So it's like Visit Scotland. And all those companies are all like one big like group. So they hired to bring us up here. We went to Loch Lomond actually, and we photographed some of the Highland cows and stuff like that. And that all came through Instagram.
Right.
So like, I was shooting, like I was in London, and I was photographing a lot with like quite a big group of other photography like influencers and like people that would just roam the streets of London and photograph, and then like get them. There's Instagram called Out London, which is run by a friend of mine, Dave.
Right.
And he basically founded this community where people would submit photos of London to him. I think they're on like 2 million followers now.
Wow. And
I remember when I first met him, I think he was on like 110k, which is still huge. Like back then, like 110k, like he had a good community following him, and he was like a really humble guy. And he was like, right, we're all meeting up here today, so we'd go on meetups and hang out, and like slowly, by like affiliation of like hanging out with like other influencers that were like 10k, 15k, like you would get companies like contacting you saying like, hey, like you're shooting with these guys, like could we send you some stuff? And it was like mostly like started out at like, I guess, product shots, which is like iPhone accessories, like camera accessories, things like that. But I think a lot of companies thought we were all shooting with like big cameras when we weren't. We were shooting with phones.
Yeah.
So they would send us like things to do with cameras, and we'd be like, I have no idea what this is for, you know. Like they would send us stuff, and you would just be like, I don't know. And then you'd ask, like, because you're in this community of people, you'd be like, do you know what we're meant to do with this? And like obviously people would have answers, and you would work it out. But I think product photography, so like walking around London, taking a photo of your phone with a case on it, I think was like maybe one of the first like major turning points for me. Or like attending events and photographing like the event, and
then like tagging the event on like Instagram,
and they would pay like a small amount of money for you to go to photograph and like put it on your Instagram, things like that. I mean, it's like it's a whole different world out there now. Like, I'm sure there's people out there that are in the same position that I was in when I first started, and like probably thinking like, how the hell do I get into the industry?
Yeah.
Because everyone can take a good photograph now with a phone.
Especially with the phone, yeah.
Yeah, or like people have got cameras like cameras like everywhere, like family cameras, like things like that. They're all really good now, and I guess, yeah, I don't even know what it'd be like to start out again from the bottom, and like try and get myself into a full-time position or freelance position where you can support yourself. You know, I think it's probably an absolute maze out there now. Like,
if you had to,
what
would you do? What would you advise?
I wouldn't even know where to start now.
Well, you said you hung out with a lot of people who were influencers.
Yeah.
So would you say that's like quite a good place? Like, try and get in contact with people who are maybe like a little bit bigger than you.
I know there is still like meetups and like hangouts and things like that still happen, but very rarely I see anything come through my inbox about that. Like, I guess maybe because I'm like out of that circle now, and I'm not like really like looking for it.
How did you find these like meetups? So if there was somebody out there that's like, how do I find a meetup?
I mean, you can. We did it. It was all through Instagram, so you see like the big community like at London.
Right.
You could reach out and like start talking, but now with he had 110k.
He's now got like
2 million. It's going to be really hard to like get your voice across.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. Like, people still break through that way. And
if you persevere.
Yeah, but they're always putting on like events and things like that you, like sponsored events, so you know people are going to be there that you need to speak to.
Right.
Which goes back to like me, like when I was like, I used to just go to events and hang out
people
and make sure that I would like just give them a smile or like talk to them like as a young kid. Like, that was like really, really daunting, like having to go out and like like socialize and drink.
Put
and,
yourself
like,
out there.
Yeah, and like.
Do you think it's even harder now because like back when you first started?
Yeah.
You know, it was. Did they actually realise that they were influencers? Like the people that you were hanging about with, did they realise the power that they had, the influence that they had?
Yeah, I think.
Or is this like a more modern thing where they're like, actually, wow, I see what we've got now.
I think back then, it started like you knew that it was like you were an influencer. But now that word has like turned into like a full scale like army of people. Like you're not just, if you're a photographer, like you have X amount of followers, like you're an influencer. But you don't have to be, you know.
Yeah.
You can like I used to connect with brands and things like that all the time and do work like that, but I think it got to a stage where I just wanted to have a career, but I didn't want to be an influencer anymore. So I would rather pursue like freelance jobs, like documentary stuff where I can go out and like do all that stuff. I mean,
do you think pursuing those jobs, do you think it helps a lot to have like a large Instagram following? Because that gives you more credibility as a photographer. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I know people that can shoot really well that don't really have a massive following. But
but to get your name across and for them to more likely like connect with you, do you think it helps?
For someone with over someone with like 10k or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, once you get over a certain point, I've found like you find brands being scared to contact you to do something.
Right.
Because they think that you're going to charge them stupid amounts of money, you know? Which, like, at my point now, I probably would, because I know how much I'm worth, and I've worked in an industry for 10, 11 years. So it's like, I'm not going to give anyone like a half-price job, because otherwise I'm just going to give them half a job, you know? It's like, you know how much you're worth, and I think for someone like that's like starting out and wanting to work with brands, then like it doesn't matter if you've got like over 10k followers or whatever. Like I think as long as your content's good and you can kind of show that to the client, if you're approaching them, just make sure that like you've got everything like set out, that you look professional. But I know people that are shooting huge campaigns like in like the Guardian and things like that, and they don't have over like 1,000 followers. So it just makes you think like these guys know what they're doing, but they're not using any social network. They're putting it on there, but people aren't interested. Like, and I still to this day find that really strange. Like friends of mine that are shooting these big things. Yeah. And I've assisted like other photographers on things, and I'm the one in the room with like most followers, but I'm an assistant, and I'm like, how does this work? Yeah. Like, it still baffles me to this day. So I don't think there's any like written in the script of like anything like you have to have over 10k to land a job shooting something for Nike. Like, if your content's good, like they'll approach you. Yeah. But you still approach them just because like there may be a big brand or something like that. Like, you still approach them if you know your content's good and you know you can do them well. Like, yeah.
Tip of the day: keep tagging them and be
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know whether that whole method would work anymore. I think people are probably quite accustomed to it.
Yeah, there'd be so many taggings going on.
Yeah,
it just
like
gets
someone
lost in the masses.
like someone like Nike that have like millions of followers. They're just gonna be like, yeah, whatever. Like,
yeah, because they get hundreds and thousands.
Like you have like bloggers, like style bloggers that will be tagging, like that will be wanting free shoes. Yeah. And then you'll have photographers that will just want to photograph Nike stuff. So that like someone like Nike is going to have thousands and thousands of people just like submitting stuff all the time. Like I've got a friend that does stuff for Adidas, and he did an open call because he didn't have time to shoot a campaign. He was like, photographers, send your stuff to this email address, and like the guy was just like, oh, please take that off your story because like I'm getting hounded by people. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I've never done that to a client before. Like because everyone that knows, like, say, like, if like we're both wearing Vans, so let's use them as an example. Like, if you're wanting to shoot Vans, and I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do this, and you're shooting photos, and I'm like, submit your stuff to Vans, like this email address, and be considered. Like, and you like people just get thousands of emails, and they're like, oh my god, it's too much, which just shows you how like hungry like other creators and photographers are to work with those brands, and having like a direct line. Like, I get like emails and messages all the time from people like, how can I shoot stuff for National Geographic? How can I shoot stuff for Condé Nast Traveler? Yeah, like I can give them email addresses, but it's not going to get them anywhere. Yeah. Because like obviously I'll take a look through their images and things like that, and I'll be like, if the images are good and I know they're going to be a good fit, like I'll mention it to someone in the magazine or something like that, and be like, hey, this guy's looking for work. Like, his stuff's really good. Like, I'm not just going to like push it aside. I always make sure that I check all my messages and have everything caught up, you know. So, I mean, if people want jobs, like, send me stuff, I guess. I really like seeing other photographers' stuff. Before I came here, I was sat eating lunch in a window, and this guy stopped with his kid in his pushchair, stopped, and he pulled up this camera and took a picture of me. And I was like, I like, obviously I've done that to people before, so I don't really care, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So I just like gave him a peace sign, and he took a picture, and I had like a sandwich in my mouth, so I'm sure it's a great picture. So I finished lunch, and I was walking down Princess Street in Edinburgh, and I saw him, so I just ran over to him. I'm like, hey man, like thanks for taking my photo. And he was like laughing at me, and I was like, oh, like, give me your Instagram. So I followed him, and he hasn't followed me back yet, but I'm sure, like, I've liked a few of his images, and like that's the kind of thing that I really like, is like someone that's not scared to kind of like go out and like just get in people's faces and like do that.
Yeah, just getting involved.
I used to do that, but I completely lost the nerve, like just going out on like by yourself and just stopping people and being, hey, can I take a picture of you? Because everyone's like, no, you know.
Yeah.
So like that kind of thing is amazing. Like that guy really inspired me today. When I was eating my lunch, I was like, this is amazing. Like I was like, go ahead, take as many as you want. I think he took 2 frames and then he was gone, and he like waved and smiled, and then like he was like, let's grab coffee. So like I know he's not like a professional photographer or anything, but it's like some of his content on his Instagram is really interesting, and it seems like every photo he does is of people eating lunch.
Yeah, right.
Or doing something in a window.
So is this on his Instagram?
Yeah, it's a cool concept. Like he's doing it himself. I don't know what he does as a job, but he's doing that himself. And like,
what's his handle?
Do you want to find it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I find that like a little bit weird. I'm not sure how I would take that. If somebody just clicked a photo of me through a window, I'd be like,
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
what are you up to?
Like, when I was in New York, there was some guys doing a window dressing at Kmart, and I took a picture, and I've still got it. And they would obviously, one guy was like, he must have been about 7 foot, like he was a big dude, and he was like holding this mannequin up, and I was like, this is the most amazing photograph ever. The mannequin was in 2 pieces. The smaller guy was holding the legs, and I stood on the street. And I took the picture, and the tall guy dropped the mannequin and just looked at me, and I was like, "Oh God!" But they were like inside the store, so it was going to take them a minute to get out. So by that time, I was hot-footing it up like 5th Avenue, and I was like,
almost monster like, close behind you.
Yeah, and I was like constantly checking behind me, like, "Oh God, this is like he's going to find me." Like I obviously
you just saw yourself as that mannequin in 2 pieces.
Like, yeah, exactly.
But like legally, you're allowed to take pictures of people in the street?
You can, yeah. I mean, I've never gotten any trouble. Like, I've never had any issues like with cops or anything like that. Like,
is it because it's a public place? Or?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess if you're too intrusive, like sitting next to someone and doing stuff like that. I must say, I do when I'm on public transport. Sometimes, if it's like really interesting, like I did it the other day from Newcastle to Edinburgh. There was a guy asleep next to me and I took a picture of him because he was so interesting looking, but I knew he would not want me to take his photograph. So he was asleep. So I just I had my phone and I just took a few photos, only just for like inspiration, for like ideas and stuff like that.
So you didn't Instagram them or anything?
Nah, but like, yeah, I mean that whole situation, like, you would probably get in trouble for doing that. If he woke up
and was like, no, I don't want my photo,
there would be an issue, and I don't think he would have been like a happy guy at all. Yeah. So but yeah, I've never had any issues with doing that like publicly in the streets, and it, like, there's a whole group of like the street photographers, you know.
Yeah. And they have those like, is it the little cameras, and you like quickly take something?
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many cameras. I've got those as well. Like, like they're amazing. It's just a little point and shoot, like, that you can just carry around with you. I normally take it everywhere, and like, yeah, it's just. I used to like photograph stuff in the street all the time, but like today, that guy really, I was like, why don't I do that anymore? And I questioned myself, like, why have I not done this in a long time? Like, it's got to be pushing a couple of years, like, since I moved back from New York.
Just got uncomfortable doing it.
I just stopped. And I think it's mainly because I was in the studio every day, and I was photographing stuff in a studio. I think I just kind of, like, it made me just tap out of it a little bit, and I was like, I just don't want to carry a camera with me anymore.
Well, tap out of the creativity. It's all about
and like having someone like telling me, right, this is what we're shooting today, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But then I'd leave and I'd be like, I'd see stuff and I'd be like, oh, that would make a good picture. And I'd be like, that's it. Normally I'd be like, oh, that would make a great photo, and then I'd stand and I'd wait for that to happen and stand there all night if I had to. But I guess just getting older, I just want to get home, make a cup of tea and go to bed. You know, I'm not 18 anymore, so
going to like actual social influencers though, is there anybody that you follow for like inspiration on Instagram, perhaps? Like any photographers that you sort of look up to, you're like, oh, that's really cool, maybe I'll use this for inspiration.
I mean, I did a big writing piece for the Huffington Post with a friend. I didn't actually know him to begin with, but now he's like a really good friend of mine. There's a guy called Phil Penman,
right,
who is mainly a black and white photographer from New York. Well, he's actually English, but he lives in New York.
Right.
And he was in New York during September the 11th.
Right. So
he got a phone call, and he was like a photographer on the ground that like was like employed by news agencies, and so he was like, I think like the story is online, like it was his first day off, and like he got a phone call and he just like ignored it because it was his day off, he didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
And then they called again and they never call again, so he answered the phone. Like you can read it all online. And he basically like photographed like the Twin Towers falling down and like people rushing from that, and his story was so inspiring, and like still to this day we talk once or twice a week about like photographs and things like that. And like if I had to like big someone up and like talk about like inspiring and like who I look to for inspiration, it'd definitely be him. Like just because he's like such a humble guy, and like he knows like he's got a gift, and that gift was really put to work on that day. Like so someone like that is like super inspirational, because he knew that he had to be a camera on the street that day. So like for that instant, like that's inspirational. But then like put him in a studio or put him in front of like someone at home as like a documentary photographer, amazing as well. You just like, you can look through his stuff and you're just like, wow, next, wow, and I always look through his stuff, and we always talk, and like he would definitely be like my number one inspiration. If you want like a big portfolio of work and like portraits, like he photographed Bill Gates, like that's something that's amazing. And this was like years ago, and he spent like I think like half an hour in his office with Bill Gates photographing him, and the shots from that are just like he was the fly on the wall, and that's what every documentary photographer wants to be, unnoticed, but noticed, if you know what I mean. And he completely accomplished that, like amazingly. So yeah, Phil for sure would be my inspiration. Yeah.
If we were to say like a lot of this might be people watching this might be interested in actually doing photography, as like being an influencer. So obviously a part of that would be working with brands. Is there any advice you would give for people working with brands, or what's your experience been working with brands? Has it been good? Has it been bad?
It's been good and bad. I've made a lot of friends, made a lot of enemies.
Right.
As a freelancer, I'm sure every freelancer knows like you get taken for a ride with like payment on stuff and things like that. That's always one question I get, is like, how do you deal with clients that are so slow on payments? And it's like, I'm sure everyone's freelance, everyone's had issues with that. So like being at a point like where, okay, you know, like a big brand will have like a 30-day rollover. Right. You do a job for them, you wait 30 days, you get paid. If it's anything past that, it's just like an absolute drag, and it just makes you not want to do it. So like I like learning from mistakes, like learning to know that it's 30 days for payment, and like because some brands just instantly think you know that, so I'm not going to tell you it's 30 days. So and then you go, when can I expect payment? And they're like, oh, it's blah blah blah, and you're like, oh my god, that's so far away.
You're coming in knowing that that's what you have to expect.
Especially when you've got like no other work on.
Yeah.
Like when you can't afford.
You need to depend.
To wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, there's all these things like I would just make sure that you've like before you even think about going like freelance and working with brands and things like that. Make sure that you've got money to back yourself up, so you don't leave yourself in a hole. And depending on like family or friends to bail you out. Like, luckily, I had like a supporting family that when stuff got really rocky, they were like, "Okay, look, we can lend you like a little bit of money," and like I'm really thankful for that, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, like, to start out, like, just make sure you know the ins and outs of, like, what you're expecting to do and, like, what that means. Like, have an understanding of what being a freelance photographer and working with brands is going to be. Yeah.
How do you work with, like, the actually valuing your work? So does a brand come to you with a price in mind, or do you have to set a price for working with a brand?
I normally go with day rates.
Right.
And I learnt that from someone that worked in the creative industry who owned an agency that I was on a job with him, and I was like, I asked him the question, I was like, how do I price what I'm doing? And he kind of sat me down, taught me through it, and he was like, you should charge this much per day, that's what you're worth. Well, I was like, okay. So from that day, that's what I charged.
Right.
And no one said, nope, I'm not paying that, or is that it? And it's like, oh god, I just like sold myself short.
Yeah.
And I've had one instance where a company's like accepted the rate, and then they've gone, oh, we're just going to send you some extra money anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's the end of their budget line, and they just want to get rid of it all. And I'm like, okay. So a day's work turns in from like maybe like 3 times as much more money than what I should have got paid, which is great. But
when did you last raise your rates?
I haven't raised them. I don't.
Inflation.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I like working in like somewhere like London. I stick with my price, and I never go lower. And like if I know it's a big brand and they've got more money, obviously like you put your rates up for that, but I always stick to a like set price, because
you don't want
fair.
A brand to be like, oh well, I contacted them and they said that you worked with them for this price.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to like if you sell yourself out, like, because there's, like I said, we've touched on it before, like everyone can take good photos, and there's photographers out there that can do a hell of a better job than I can, and they might do it for cheaper. So if they've got like 5 people lined up and they're like, right, let's see who's going to give us the best price for this job.
Yeah.
And you sell yourself like too short, and they take you in, or you go too high. It's that whole value situation. That's why I always stick to the same price, because I know it's a fair price, and they know what they're going to get. So, yeah, I think it's just like just pricing it, really.
Is there a process you went through to come to like how you figured out like what you value yourself as a day rate? Is there a process you went through, or? I took my friend's advice. Yeah.
And he said this is during a job that we were shooting for, like, I think it was like Home Base or something like that.
Right.
And I was like behind the scenes photographer, and I was like, how much should I charge? And he was like, for this job you should charge this much because they're a big client. But for regular jobs, photographers now are charging this much. And he's quite a big like guy in the creative world, so to get that advice from him, I was like, right, I'm going to stick to that, because like he knows what he's talking about. He's a photographer. He also owns an agency.
Right.
I think he owned 3 at that point, so it was kind of like, he's giving me advice, so I should listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
So, and I've never had any issues with it, like, since that. Like, I've always gone to him for advice if I've had problems with clients and things like that. So that's also a very lucky friend to have. Like, if you know people in the industry that you can kind of call upon and be like, hey, I'm having this issue, like, what should I do? And they're like, oh, yeah, I've been across this before, like, just do this. And it's like, right, okay. And I'm so, like, we haven't really talked about it, but, like, everything I do, I'm completely self-taught. Like, I never went to uni or anything.
Right.
So I had to learn from other photographers how to use Photoshop and, like, how to use a camera properly and all these things, and which I'm, like, so grateful for, because, like, now I'm 28 and I haven't been to school, and it's like it's one of those situations where you see, I've got friends that have been to uni for photography and they haven't got a job in photography, and I'm like, but you're such a good photographer, how have you not got a career in photography? And it's because I think, like, I've thrown myself in at the deep end with no commitments attached, and then just thrown myself through and through and through whilst they were studying, like, and it's just, like, paid off that I've now got more experience than I should have at my age. But, like, there's still some technical sides that I'm like, what does that mean? Like, when other photographers are talking about things, I'm like, well, I've never heard of that. And they're like, trust me, it's a thing. And I'm like, no, I don't think it is. Like, but, like, obviously you then get your phone out and you Google it and you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about now. Yeah. So there's, like, still to this day, I'd sit and talk with, like, other people, photographers, and I'm like, wow, like, I'm learning from you. Like, but yeah, it's a really tough world out there. Like,
do you think that, like, those that you talk about that went through uni, do you think they kind of, like, because they've done the degree, they kind of expect to get work from it that way, and the fact that you didn't go to uni, you're constantly striving to, like, get work, so you ended up bettering yourself and improving a lot more than you did?
I also think, like, being in, like, if you go to uni for photography, I'm sure you'd probably get, like, any degree, you'd get very bored of it, because you're being, like, you're paying X, Y, and Z to go to these classes to learn about something, and doing all the coursework and exams and things like that. Like, I'm sure you end up sitting there and you're like, I really don't like photography anymore. Yeah. Like, I'm sure it's with any subject, like, you just,
it's a bit dry and boring.
Yeah. Like, there has to be some sort of essence of, like, excitement with it, and I think if I went to uni, I'd probably be like, I don't want to do that.
It's a passion thing, right? Everybody wants to do something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And uni quite often kills that.
Yeah.
You really just overanalyze things.
But it really depends on your lecturers, the teachers, and all that kind of stuff. It's like when you're at school, you always had your favourite kind of things, and then when your favourite lecturers and then when the teacher changed, it was a different subject. You're like, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were lucky because you got taught by people on the job at the time. So.
Yeah.
Would you credit that to, like, a lot of your success then, is working with, being lucky to work with these people and being around all these people?
Yeah. I didn't, like, at the point where I was like, should I go to uni? I was like, I have no idea what subject to take.
Yeah.
Or what I want to do. What I want to do as a career. So that's the one reason why I was like, well, I'm just going to go get a job. I'm going to do this. I have a camera. I'm going to take photos as a hobby. So, like, learning from people, like, assisting and, like, watching documentaries and things like that of, like, other photographers and things like that. It's always been, like, a huge thing, like, for me to get inspired, and, like reading National Geographic. Like, my granddad used to give me National Geographic, like, every issue that came out when I was younger, and I used to be like, God, it would be amazing to do this shit. Like, we have so cool, like, all these images, like, visually, like, I was just, like, stimulated as a kid, like, looking through stuff. I'm sure so many other photographers are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, they got inspired by something, and I still remember, like, I want to do that. And I must have been 10 or 11.
Right.
And it was just, like, that was the thing. Like, he used to drop a box of Jaffa cakes and a National Geographic magazine every time it came out. I used to sit, I used to eat the whole box and look through all the pages, and obviously not reading everything because I was really young, so I just want to look at pictures.
Yeah. And you've actually worked with National Geographic,
yeah,
haven't you?
Yeah, which is amazing. Like, if he was alive now, I'm sure he'd be like, "You're absolutely insane." Like,
was he a photographer?
No, not at all. He was just like, he just used to collect books and magazines, and he loved cruises and he loved traveling. So, I guess that essence of stuff, like for me, like I'm fortunate enough now to have travelled a lot.
Do you think that helps with like keeping you inspired to do photography? Because
Yeah.
you said yourself, like if you were in one situation or one place for a long time, you start to feel like a bit bored or dull.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like traveling and like photography come hand in hand, and the only like this is really strange. So the only two subjects I did really well at school was religious studies and geography.
Right.
And I don't know whether it's because the teachers were like really switched on to like how my brain was working when I was younger, because like we've said before, like I was very dyslexic at school, so reading and like looking at numbers were just like, you don't have my attention when that stuff's in front of me. I'm just like, what do you want me to do with this?
Yeah.
And it's just really confusing, and I'd get bored and I'd sidetracked and I'd start talking about something else or reading something else. So those teachers would like, they introduced like teaching methods into me, like with photos, and like for some reason they knew that, like, and I'm really good friends with the two teachers now, which is like, like when I'm home I see them and like I'm always like, you know, you did this for me, like I'm so grateful. And they would give me like, I would be like one of the only ones in the class that would have like a picture to do with like the topic, and I would learn instantly, and it was the only two subjects that I got like really good grades in.
Right.
And like from like I was in secondary school and I stayed on for A level to do those subjects because I was like, well, I'm actually good at something, you know.
Yeah.
All those years being like a kid and being like, well, I'm terrible at everything, like all I want to do is skateboard, and like my parents could see that I was probably really unhappy with being at school. And then one day I'd be like, what, like I've learned about longitude, and like my mum's like, what, he's come home talking about school, like what's going on?
Yeah.
So like that whole situation was like big for me, a big turning point, like in education anyway. After that I was a bit like, I don't know what I want to do.
Fair enough. You talked like a little bit about skateboarding, and I've seen that on your Instagram actually. You do have you got like Skatepal, or something like you're donating to Skatepal. You got like a link there. So
Skatepal are Palestine. So like introducing like skateboarding and donating stuff to the kids of Palestine. And like teaching them how to skate, and like you can go out there. I've not been yet, but I really want to go and basically go out and visit, teach kids to skate, set up boards, like teach them about skateboarding, which is amazing. Like that was a big thing when I was younger, growing up, having a facility to go and skateboard at.
Right.
And it was where I met a lot of friends. Like if you'd skate or if you'd BMX or like whatever, you've always got like a family around the world, which is amazing because you can go anywhere. You can see a skateboarder because you just have to look at their shoes if they're all ripped up.
Yeah.
Or like they're carrying a skateboard, like you instantly know you're going to be like really good friends with them. So like to introduce that to somewhere like Palestine that have like literally nothing, like, and they're like striving to get out of like the like place that they are. Yeah, and it said that on the site, like more than half the population are kids, and they want to get kids like more involved and be more of a community. Yeah, it's just like introducing them into a community of people, and bringing people out from England or the States to go and teach these kids how to skate. And it's also introducing them to a whole nother culture, and like seeing that the world is much bigger than the issues that are going on around them. So it's amazing, and like they've got this amazing skate park there, and like Skatepal are doing a really good job. There's also like Skateistan, which is another one, which is in Afghanistan, which is basically the same concept, but with girls. which is amazing. But yeah, I mean, like skateboarding for me was like a big thing when I was growing up. Still to this day, I skateboard like probably like 3-4 times a week, and I still everything's intact. So
is it something you've used your social media accounts for to publicise, or the photographs that you can take skateboarding to get people more aware of it?
Strangely enough, like I've skateboarded since I was 12. I've taken photographs since I was 12. So these two hobbies came at the same time, and I've very rarely fused the two together, which is really strange.
Yeah.
I've written for skateboard magazines, and I've really I've got into like doing portraits of skateboarders,
right?
But I've never like gone, hey, I really want to shoot photos of you skateboarding, grinding a rail or something like that.
Because you've got like Paiute here as well, places like that where you could probably do like a lot of
So
photography.
strangely enough, like the first week that I moved to Edinburgh, my girlfriend was like, there's this really cool store here, like all the guys there are like super cool, like you should really make friends with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, alright. So like I went in there and started talking to the guy who owns it.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's
a really like down to earth guy.
Yeah, and he was like, well, you just moved here and you don't have a job, so he's hooked me up with a job, like doing some stuff with a pizza restaurant in Edinburgh.
Right.
Which is amazing. And like this is the whole thing, like new city, skateboarders, finding skateboarders, you've got friends. And this is like the community, they're like, oh, he needs a job. It's all like, so everyone that I've met at the pizza place, all skateboarders. So it's like, you've got this whole family there, like, and like Paiute, like they're really nice dudes. And like, I've only been here like over a week. So like already having like 10 friends and like a job just from that community is amazing. So very fortunate to have been introduced to skateboarding and like meeting people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a little bit of like in the news. We want to go a little bit over that.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so in the news we have a story which is essentially influencers. Have we reached a tipping point? A report surveyed over 200 senior marketing professionals. So the world of influencer marketing has become increasingly convoluted as publishers, agencies and ad tech companies all want in. They're saying despite the popularity of influencer marketing, it still lacks integrity.
Right. So yeah, we're doing a little section where we like look at the news today and then talk about it a little bit and try and make it like related to influencers in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're saying is that it's lacking integrity because people can essentially buy followers and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever thought about doing? Or?
It's not something I've ever thought about doing, but there was a whole thing with Instagram, and I'll probably get in trouble for talking about this, but there was a whole thing, like, they would do suggested users, where they would pick, like, 30 people to be followed by the official Instagram account, and they would be publicized as, like, that month's, like influence, like, main influencers. They would do 30 to 50 people from around the world.
Right.
And if you got put on that, you would get followers through the roof. Like, people would be like back in the day when Instagram first started, when you opened up your Instagram account, you would say like suggested users to follow, and you would be on that list.
Oh right, I see. Right.
So I got put on it once, and I got loads of followers from it, and then I lost loads of followers, and then like since the analytics thing came in, like engagement has gone like right down to the floor. I personally, I don't care about engagement or followers or anything. I just post photos now, and because I guess being in a career, like, you just don't really care about it anymore. You're past that whole obsession stage. But yeah, I've not really thought about buying followers, but there's I know that's like something where brands are going to be like, how many followers have you bought?
Yeah, versus like how many you got organically.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, well, this kind of story feels like it's been written by like a marketer who doesn't like the fact that social influencers are taking money out of their pocket, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like what they're focusing on is the sort of negative aspect of people potentially building up their following in dubious ways.
Right.
But what this misses out on is that they shouldn't be focusing on the number of followers you've got, right? It's the engagement.
It is the engagement.
It's all about engagement. So like if you've got 100k followers and no engagement, nobody's going to give you any social influencer kind of work, you know?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So I kind of think that this is like a little bit of scaremongering.
What's the source?
Yeah, what is the source?
Should be on the top.
thedrum.com.
Are they any good?
Sounds like a marketing firm, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So essentially, marketers want to see more transparency around influencers, fake followers, content control.
The craziest thing, like, with my account is, like, having like 20 plus thousand followers. Like, you can find one day, like, you'll hit like a big wave where you'll get like 30 followers in a day, or like even more. Like at some stages I was getting like 100 to 200 a day.
Wow.
And it was like insane, but the engagement still stays the same.
Right.
400-500 likes per post, 10 comments, but then friends of mine have like 10,000-15,000 followers,
right,
and they get like 2,000 likes per post. But then if I do something on stories, I get like a range about like 15k on stories. People just aren't liking and engaging with the post, like,
especially
or
like,
they're missing the post with,
yeah,
with the like whole analytics and everything, like with the, what's the word for that they changed recently?
Well, like the algorithm.
Algorithm, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like that whole issue, like you used to know, like 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock was like peak engagement time because everyone's like dinner, sitting down, chilling, looking at their phone.
Yeah.
But now, if you post at that time, nothing. Like you don't hit. Like back in the day, I would hit like 2,000-3,000 likes per post, and then slowly.
It's because I
dropped
think
out.
A lot of people, sometimes people follow influencers and they don't tend to like their posts. Like they like looking at the content, but they just don't like the post. And because they don't like the post, Instagram's algorithm then penalizes that person. They appear lower in their feed.
Yeah.
So people who like someone's post, that person's going to appear a lot higher in their feed.
Yeah. Especially
with stories as well. So if you're constantly looking at their stories, their story always appears much higher than everybody else's, because it's more relevant to the user.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just penalizing people who are bigger accounts, because
Yeah.
a lot of the followers are like, oh, I'm following them, that they don't need me to like their post, but because they're not liking the post, they're missing out on loads of their content because it's not coming up high.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main problem, is because of that, because of this algorithm, and everyone's got used to not liking it, they're not seeing it as much, and that's why you're not getting.
There's also an awareness thing, right? Is that more and more people know that you should post between 6 and 9. So that means there's a lot more content getting added at that point.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter so much about time. Like it used to be, it was like a timeline. So it was like the most recent post was at the top.
Yeah.
But now it's just the most relevant post.
Yeah.
So someone could have posted like 3 hours ago, still comes to the top of your timeline, your feed.
Uh-huh.
And it's just because
sometimes when I post, like you post and it will go on and then it will just disappear, and you're like, has that gone online or not?
Yeah.
So then you have to go onto your profile
and
to
check,
see that it's on.
Because if you do swipe down, it's not the most recent post. It just buggers off like miles down the feed. Yeah. It is frustrating.
But like it's the whole
things.
The whole influencer thing is like it's a whole, like again, it's a whole maze. Like you can be an influencer, like say if you've got a lot of money in your pocket and you're like, I don't know, 17, 18 years old. Just like, I think you can buy 1 million followers for like £500 or something like that.
Yeah.
For someone that's got a lot of money in their pocket, like that's nothing. Like, you have a million followers, and then you can just start like hitting brands.
Is that an accurate rate? 500 quid for a million?
I'm sure.
I'm
sure.
in.
No, because if you do that, Instagram like penalises it because it tracks like how quickly you gain followers. So if you were to do that and it comes over like a couple nights, that's insane because Instagram will just instantly penalise. Because we had Roya in, who's next door. She co-owns Faith, and she runs all the social media.
Uh-huh.
She actually bought 10,000 followers because at 10,000 followers you get that embedded link in your stories where people can swipe up. So she wanted to try that out.
Right.
But because she thinks that because she bought those 10,000 followers, she got penalised by Instagram, and like not as many people were seeing her account, not as many new people were coming to her account, and like she wasn't getting as many likes. And obviously all of her following base were from like, where was it from? Like Turkey and places like that, and it's like totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
So there.
I think it's got to get to a point where companies like Instagram show brands or people who want to connect with social influencers, not just like how many followers they've got and how many posts they posted this week, but it's just about the engagement. So it's like, you can actually have some sort of report on this person.
Like on their profile, you think?
Yeah, like I'm thinking about employing this person. I want to see a report of their engagement.
Yeah.
So it's like
most
comments.
Most like influencers that are being hired for jobs like that, you normally do get asked those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your average like rate? What's your follower to followers ratio?
Yeah.
Like
exactly right. So that's
your target
That's
market?
the main thing, because what you were talking about before was like somebody with 1,000 could get 1,000 like comments kind of thing, because they've got a really engaged kind of following, whereas perhaps yourself, they're not engaging as much anymore.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot in the course. We talk about like micro and macro influencers, and sometimes micro influencers are a better choice because it's their friend group. Like I know people who have like 1,000 followers, they get like 300 likes in like 2 minutes, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
and it's just insane, and it's because it's all their friends are actively engaging because it's their friend. If it's an influencer, I mean, they have some connection with them, but they're not like a friend, so they're not going to like the post just because it's my friend. I like the post. Yeah. They still enjoy the content, but they're a lot less likely to like it.
Yeah. It's like I sent you that article, didn't I? It said 71% of people are much more likely to buy if they see a recommendation on on one of their social media profiles.
Yeah. Yeah. The suggested user thing was probably a terrible idea to accept being put on there. I've got friends that have like 100,000 followers, and they get like 100 likes per post, and it's like
pretty crazy.
Man, you just shut down your account and restart again because it
looks good from the onset, but like when you look into it deeper,
like it's good to impress people and be like, yeah, this is me, It's like, okay, but how's that going to make you any money, man?
Yeah.
Because
people are looking for the engagement. Brands look for engagement.
Yeah. If someone's like, oh, we want to do something with you, but like you don't get that many likes, I'm like, yeah, but the audience is there. Like, they just don't engage.
You could go by like there's other stuff as well, like impressions and stuff like that. Yeah, so you could go by impressions.
My
and reach
impressions,
as well.
like per week, like I've got like 20,000 plus followers. My impressions per week are like 85,000 per week. Which is it just doesn't make any sense for like there's people looking and searching and clicking, but there's just like the main engagement part is just like
it's crazy,
and I think it's all down to the algorithms.
Yeah,
because people are visiting the page, people are looking at posts, people are looking at stories, but the actual content posting on the feed, nothing.
Yeah,
so it's just like. There's this like a lot of friends of mine have spoken about it, and there's this like basically they call it the wave, and eventually you hit a wave, and like I've been on it before, you can get 200-300 followers a day,
right,
and it all just comes from someone mentioning you, or like you being affiliated, like you being followed by someone that's in the press,
right,
and everyone's like, well, they must be friends, and it goes nuts. So, like, famous people that I've worked with before, if there's something in the media about them, you'll see your page just go nuts because people are like, whoa, what do you know about this?
Yeah.
It's just like, there's a lot of people just trying to find out things, and that's one
it's so much
type of ways
it's
that
easy
I
to
can
be
relate
discovered
to.
that way.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, like I went on your account and I looked down and I seen that you did like a photo shoot with Harrison Osterfield.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh crap, that's like the guy who hangs out with Tom Holland on like films and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm really into like Spider-Man and Tom Holland. And I was like, holy shit. So then that made me go on Harrison Osterfield and then follow him and then and everything like that. And I was like, wow.
Harrison's a funny chap.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. Yeah, he was so fun to work with. We did some stuff with Tom Holland as well.
Did you?
Yeah, that was really good fun. He's just such a normal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's all these little bits of my career that, like, some people will relate to. Some people will be like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah.
But like someone like Harrison, who has 500,000-600,000 followers,
something like that. Yeah.
that's like really good friends with Tom and like a really good actor as well. You know, he's like someone like that I'm friends with. That like someone else, like if he posts something like he did when we did the shoot together, it was like 40, 50, like 60.
And that's like that wave you were
like,
talking about. Yeah.
And it would just fire off. And you'll get messages like, "Hey, like, when are you next hanging out with Harrison?" Things like that, and it's crazy.
Here's my number. Give me my number.
You just get like by affiliation. You just get like thrown into this like whole like deep ocean of people, and you're like, whoa. And I've been like stopped in the street because people have like done their research on who I am and what I look like, and they're like stopped me in the street and they're like, "Oh, you're friends with blah blah blah," and I'm like, How do you know that?
Yeah.
I'm a person too.
It's really like that situation.
Yeah.
Like I've had a few instances where people have like stopped to take photos with me, and I'm like, I'm just a photographer.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Like, I'm not like a famous person. I don't know why you want to take a picture with me. And they're like, because you're friends with blah blah blah, and I'm like, alright.
Selfie time.
Yeah, I mean, like the band The Vamps, like I shot photos of them and like really nice guys, and that whole situation, like their fans are so passionate about the band and the guys in the band
and everyone they know, so they like
and everyone they know, and it's like you get like. If you post something, like I posted some photos on Twitter the other day, didn't mention or tag anyone, and it was like 300 retweets and like 6,000 likes, and I was like, and this is just all people that don't follow me but actively search
for the Vamps like all the time.
Yeah, or because I'm friends with them, they search on my page. Has he posted anything today? And it's like, oh my god. Like, I woke up that next morning and I like opened my phone and it was like crazy amounts of retweets, like viral like numbers, and I was just like, okay, right, I now I understand that's also like a wave, like you can hit those waves.
Top tip, get some selfies with famous people and pretend you know them.
Yeah, exactly.
Or actually know them, you know. That helps as well.
That's a lot harder. Mine was easier.
Yeah, just Photoshop yourself next to them and say, "Oh, man."
That's it.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing about that, wasn't there?
There was a guy that went really famous because he photoshopped himself with like
and it
celebrities.
was so precise.
It looked like
amazing.
real photos. Yeah,
like him between Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yeah, and then there was him with
like
Kendall
that
Jenner
to Jay-Z, and like Beyonce's like looking at him. It was
amazing.
amazing.
It was really good. Yeah, they're really well done. People thought they were real for so long.
Yeah.
He's at million. I'm pretty sure he's at a couple million followers on Instagram. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Alright, wrap it up, guys, before we all like pass out.
Thanks for watching, everybody. That's the end of this podcast. We kind of ran out of time, but I just want to say thanks to the guests. Thanks, Neil, for coming along, and thank you very much for coming along, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Fun.
Yeah,
cool.
that'll do.